Her fingers turned blue before the Bentley left the driveway. Her 5-year-old asked why Daddy's girlfriend had Mommy's coat, and all Tiffany could say was, "Because your father forgot I exist." Welcome back to Mr. Charles Stories. If you've ever had to carry your child through a storm someone else caused, this story is for you. If you believe dignity speaks louder than shouting, subscribe and stay until the end. The snow hadn't stopped falling since sunset. It clung to the windows of the Greaves penthouse like frostbite, wrapping the view in a white silence that matched the stillness inside. Tiffany Alara stood in the foyer, her coat still hanging on the rack, her breath short. She had just put Cairo to bed, his stuffed elephant tucked under one arm, the white noise machine humming. Then she heard the elevator ping. Sterling was home, except he didn't come alone. The doors slid open, and in walked Celeste Marlin, bold lips, sharp perfume, and Tiffany's own scarf around her neck. The audacity didn't land with noise. It settled like a smirk. Tiffany didn't blink. She didn't move. She waited for her husband to speak. He didn't, not at first. Instead, he closed the distance between them slowly, eyes scanning the floors like he was too tired to meet hers. "Tiff," he finally said, voice low and dry, "let's not make this ugly." Celeste was already stepping past him. Her heels clicked against the Italian tile like she owned it. "You were asked to pack lightly," she said, brushing a finger along the glass console. "We need the place for a client dinner." Tiffany looked at Sterling, not Celeste. "You didn't even call." "I told you earlier," he muttered, adjusting his cuff. "It's temporary. We'll talk tomorrow." She almost laughed. "Sterling, this is our son's home, mine. There's a Christmas tree in the corner with his name on it, and you're telling me to leave tonight?" Celeste chimed in again. "You've had time to prepare. He told you days ago. Or did you think this was optional?" Tiffany's jaw tightened. Her hands curled into fists at her side. She felt the heat rise in her chest, but she swallowed it. This wasn't about pride. This was about Cairo. Upstairs, he stirred in his sleep. Tiffany moved to the hallway, pulled out a small suitcase she had kept in, the linen closet for emergencies, never imagining this would be one of them. Celeste lingered in the living room, checking her reflection in a gold-framed mirror. Sterling remained quiet, following Tiffany with his eyes but not his feet. "Where are we supposed to go?" Tiffany asked, her voice steady, not weak. Celeste shrugged. "Hotel. It's only temporary. Unless you want this to end up in the press." The threat hung in the air. Tiffany didn't respond. She walked into Cairo's room, scooped up her sleeping son gently, wrapped him in his favorite blanket, and whispered, "Mama's here. We're okay." By the time she came back out, suitcase in one hand, child in the other, the doorman had already been told she was no longer listed under the residence access. Even he wouldn't meet her eyes. Celeste smiled as Tiffany passed her. Sterling looked down. Tiffany paused at the front door, her hand on the knob, her son's weight on her hip. She turned once, not to plead, not to cry, only to say one thing: "He'll remember this night." Then she stepped out. The cold slapped her across the face. The wind had teeth. Cairo blinked awake, confused and shivering. "Mama, where's Daddy?" She held him tighter, digging her chin into his shoulder. "Sleeping inside," she said. "We're going somewhere warmer." His voice was small. "But you forgot your coat." Tiffany smiled through frozen lips. "No, baby, I didn't forget it." The valet booth was empty. She had no car keys. Her purse was still inside. Her wallet, her ID, everything she owned was in a bag barely zipped and a child barely awake. She crossed the street, heels cracking against icy pavement, and waved down the first cab she could find. It took 5 tries before one stopped. The driver didn't ask questions. He looked at the child, looked at her coatless arms. "Where to?" She gave him the name of a 3-star motel off the interstate, one she remembered from her early days in Boston. It wasn't clean, it wasn't warm, but it was open. That would be enough. The motel room smelled like lemon cleaner and someone else's cigarettes. Cairo fell asleep again quickly, too young to understand the humiliation that had unfolded. Tiffany sat on the edge of the bed, her back straight, her eyes dry. The scarf Celeste wore was a gift from Sterling. On their 3rd anniversary, he'd wrapped it around her neck himself, said it matched her grace, and tonight he let someone else wear it to throw her into the cold. She could have broken down then, screamed, sent emails, called his board. Instead, she pulled her phone from the bottom of the suitcase and tapped one. Contact, Vera. Columbia roommate or brand strategist texted, "I need work, starting tomorrow." Then she put the phone down, took one deep breath, and said out loud, to no one, "This is the last time someone writes my ending." The sun came late. Snow still lined the edges of the motel window like lace, but it no longer looked soft. It looked like what it was, residue from a storm she never invited. Tiffany sat in the stiff armchair, legs tucked beneath her, with the motel's scratchy blanket draped over her shoulders. Her phone buzzed once, then again. "Vera, send me a current photo and your elevator pitch. Clients are watching already. If you're serious, you've got 3 days to prove it." She smiled. Vera never asked how or why. That was their friendship. No explanations, just movement. Tiffany looked over at Cairo, still sleeping peacefully on the double bed. His cheeks were pink from the night before, but he had warmth now. He'd slept soundly, unaware that their world had cracked wide open, and she wasn't going to let him feel the fallout. She opened the motel notepad and began to write. Company name, Elara Strategies Target, female-led brands, legacy startups, recovery rebrands, tone clean, bold, real, founder's story, optional, never public, never needed. Her hand shook as she underlined the final point. She wasn't building this from pain. She was building it from clarity. Let Celeste have her perfume. Let Sterling have his boardrooms. Tiffany had something more dangerous, her freedom from waiting for a seat at a table someone else owned. By noon, they were on a bus heading out of Boston toward Cambridge, where Vera had arranged a short-term sublet through one of her clients who'd gone abroad for the holidays. It was a tiny walk-up apartment with teal tile and a slanted bathroom mirror. Tiffany looked around. She'd lived smaller. Cairo stood on the only rug and spun in a circle, laughing. "This place has echo, Mama." Tiffany bent down and kissed his forehead. "It also has heat." He nodded solemnly. "And it's just us?" "Yes, baby. Just us." 3 days later, Vera put Tiffany in front of a small crowd of female founders in an incubator co-working space. One of the brands, a maternity skincare line, needed a relaunch strategy. Their last campaign had flopped. The CEO, a sharp-eyed Latina in her 40s, stared Tiffany down and said, "You sure you're not too clean for this?" Tiffany responded calmly, "I survived a snowstorm with a 5-year-old and no purse. I'm not clean, I'm fireproof." They hired her on the spot. At night, after Cairo fell asleep on the couch bed, Tiffany studied digital marketing again, read pitch decks, rebuilt her resume. She even practiced saying her name again, Tiffany Elara, like it belonged to someone new. And slowly, it did. Back in Boston's Beacon district, the penthouse had changed. Celeste moved in within a week. She didn't ask. She simply had the locks changed, and Sterling informed the building that his wife had relocated voluntarily. The doorman didn't question it. Celeste liked loud music and louder heels. She ordered catering instead of cooking. She asked the housekeeper to remove any soft energy, which meant every photo of Cairo and every last trace of Tiffany. Sterling didn't protest. He was distracted. Meetings, interviews, press tours. But when a journalist casually asked during a fintech event if his wife was attending the winter gala, Sterling had hesitated. "She's traveling," he had said. Celeste leaned over after and muttered, "That was weak. You don't owe the world answers about your ex." Sterling had nodded. But the word ex stung. There had been no divorce papers, no discussion, just a silence they both weaponized differently. Tiffany used it to rebuild. Sterling used it to pretend nothing needed rebuilding. Weeks passed. Tiffany's phone lit up one morning with a surprising email. Subject, Women of Impact Summit, January. Keynote invitation message. Ms. Ilara, your work with recovery brands has caught our attention. We'd like to offer you the opening keynote slot for our Resilience in Leadership segment. We believe your story and your strategy will resonate with our audience. Let us know availability ASAP. She blinked. The event was covered by every business media outlet in the Northeast. She could already feel the whispering. Wasn't she married to Sterling Greaves? Why isn't she using his name? Didn't she disappear? Let them ask. She typed a quick reply. Confirmed. Slide deck by Friday. No QYA. No personal angles. Just the work. Then she closed her laptop and exhaled slowly. It wasn't about revenge. It was about ownership. The life Celeste threw her out of no longer belonged to her. And now, the world she was building, that didn't belong to Sterling either. A few days later, Tiffany picked Cairo up from preschool. His cheeks were red from the cold, and his scarf was too long. It trailed behind him like a cape. He reached for her hand and said, "Mama, a boy at school said daddies are supposed to come to pick up too." Tiffany stopped walking. She crouched to meet his eyes. Some daddies do. And some daddies don't know what they're missing. Why doesn't mine come? She brushed his curls away from his forehead. Because he made choices that have nothing to do with you, Kai. Will he come later? She paused, then shook her head. Just once. We don't wait for people who made us stand outside in the cold. He didn't understand it fully, but he nodded. And that was enough. That night, she tucked him in, then sat on the apartment's only armchair and opened a spreadsheet. She was planning the next quarter, contracts, speaking slots, new hires, but her heart wasn't in the numbers tonight. She pulled out her wedding ring from the small box where she kept it, threaded it onto a thin silver chain, and put it around her neck, not as a symbol of pain, not as a threat, but as a reminder. I got through the snow, I got through the silence. I'm going to get through all of this too. And she would. Have you ever had to walk away quietly, not because you were weak, but because they no longer deserve to hear your strength? If this chapter made you pause, made you feel something, or reminded you of someone, let us know in the comments. And if you believe some storms exist to reveal who's never coming back with an umbrella, like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Charles Stories for more stories that speak where others stay silent. The snow had melted by the end of January, but Tiffany's resolve had only solidified. Ilara's Strategies wasn't a brand yet. It was a file name on her laptop, a scribbled notebook of names, a half-baked deck of mock campaigns, and a belief that she was still valuable, even when everything in her world had said otherwise. It started in the margins. One client, then two. The maternity skincare brand from the co-working pitch went live with Tiffany's campaign by February. It was a clean rollout, transparent testimonials, direct messaging, and smart influencer placements. Sales went up 27% in the first week. By week 2, the founder sent a text Tiffany didn't expect. When are you taking more clients? My friend runs a sleepwear line and she's begging for your contact. Tiffany looked at the message, took a deep breath, and looked around. The small walk-up where she and Cairo still shared a single bedroom. They were still sleeping head to toe some nights, giggling about feet wars. She still folded laundry on the kitchen counter. They still ate noodles and microwave dinners 3 nights a week. But now, there was something else. Momentum. She texted back, "Tell her to call me. I'll send a pitch." By spring, Tiffany had landed 4 more clients. None of them knew her story. None of them asked. She didn't lead with wife of a billionaire or survivor of public humiliation. She didn't need to. Her pitch was clean, her tone was quiet, and her track record spoke louder than any headline ever could. And still, Sterling had not reached out. There were no emails, no texts asking about Cairo, no check-ins, no support payments, no apology, which was fine. Tiffany didn't want support. She wanted independence with proof. One Wednesday, she walked Cairo to his new preschool in Central Square. He wore the yellow backpack she bought at a second-hand store, the one with a small rip in the side and a sticker he'd pressed over it like a badge of honor. Miss Lorna said we're painting planets today. He chirped. Tiffany smiled. Then make sure Saturn has rings that sparkle. He stopped and looked up at her seriously. Mama, will you be here when I'm done? She crouched and placed both hands on his shoulders. Always. No matter where I am, I come back to you. He grinned. Even if the snow comes back. She leaned in and kissed his cheek. Especially then. After drop-off, she headed to Vera's downtown office space. It wasn't large, just a high-rise co-op with bad coffee and great Wi-Fi. But it gave her something she hadn't felt in months, a sense of movement. Vera was already waiting at the shared table, typing like a woman on a deadline. "You've got 30 minutes before your Zoom with Stella Langston," she said without looking up. "And I edited your deck. You're welcome." Tiffany sat and pulled out her laptop. Isn't she the founder who pivoted from cookware to cosmetics? Yeah, she's watching you, and she's serious. But so is her calendar. She'll drop you in 60 seconds if you fumble the intro. I won't. Don't mention your past, Vera added. You're already better than it. Tiffany met her eyes. I stopped introducing myself with someone else's name 3 months ago. Vera grinned. Then let's go get you some capital. Stella Langston logged into the Zoom call 2 minutes late. She had on oversized glasses and minimal makeup, but the aura of control was obvious. Women like her didn't waste time. "You're Tiffany Alara," she said, already scrolling through the shared deck. "Yes, this deck is sharp. You have a clean sense of brand pacing. No fluff. That's intentional. I believe messaging should speak without shouting." Stella nodded. "Who's on your team?" Tiffany straightened. "Right now? Me. But I contract per project and have access to experienced creatives through my network. I don't believe in bloated teams. I believe in results." Stella raised an eyebrow. "You're bold." "I have to be." A pause. "Then, let's start with 2 campaigns. Short-term contract. If it hits, we talk long-term. If not, we move on." Tiffany smiled. "Send the paperwork." That night, she stood at the stove heating canned soup while Cairo colored beside her. He was humming something off-key. "Guess what?" she said, placing the bowl in front of him. He looked up. "We get to eat real pancakes again?" She laughed. "Soon. But also, I landed a new job." He tilted his head. "Are you going to work in a big building like Daddy?" "No, baby. I'm building something of my own." He beamed. "Like Legos?" "Exactly like Legos." She watched him eat, eyes full of peace he didn't even know she had fought for. He didn't need to understand betrayal. He only needed to witness strength. The next morning, Vera sent her a logo. It was sleek, modern, feminine but firm. Elara Strategies, built from the ashes. Designed for the rise. Too dramatic? Vera asked. Tiffany stared at it. "No, it's perfect." Then she forwarded it to her newly hired designer, a brilliant Nigerian-American artist named Bisi, who had just finished a maternity leave and was looking for flexible hours. Tiffany offered her double the freelance rate and told her, "I don't micromanage women who've survived labor. Send me your best work. That's all I ask." Bisi replied with a crying emoji and 2 logos in 48 hours. Cairo's birthday came in June. She didn't throw a party. Instead, she took him to a small children's museum, just the 2 of them. He wore a blue paper crown, and they ate cupcakes in a quiet corner. Afterward, she asked him what he wished for. "A hot dog," he said. "But I already had one." She laughed. "Anything else?" He paused. "Then maybe Daddy could call me again someday." Tiffany's smile dimmed, but she didn't let it fade. "He might, and when he does, you'll already be strong enough to know how special you are, with or without that call." Cairo nodded slowly, then reached for her hand and squeezed it. "You're special too, Mama." She wiped her eyes before he could see the tears. They weren't from pain, they were from pride. By the time July rolled in, Tiffany's apartment no longer smelled like struggle. It smelled like paper ink and candle wax. Like Cairo's mango-scented shampoo and the lemon zest she added to pasta just to remind herself she still had a sense of taste. She was staying because she had a plan. Every invoice she submitted, every new client she onboarded, every conference she accepted, it all built toward a future with no strings, no apologies, and no footprints behind her she had to sweep up. It was the first time since the snowstorm that Tiffany felt stable, not just surviving, growing. Her Google Calendar was now color-coded. Yellow, calls with Vera and busy. Purple, Cairo's field trips and reading days. Green, high-priority clients. Red, non-negotiables, moments she would not trade, not even for a six-figure deal. One of those red blocks was tonight. Cairo had a parent-student night. The preschool had converted their small gym into a gallery of art projects. Planets, paper dolls, glitter-covered cotton balls that vaguely resembled animals. Tiffany arrived 10 minutes early and stood at the back, watching Cairo explain to another child why he painted Jupiter purple because it looked cooler that way. Miss Lorna spotted her and smiled. Cairo's brilliant and very gentle with the younger kids. Tiffany tucked her scarf tighter. He's got an old soul. You raise him on your own. Tiffany hesitated. Yes, but he's not lacking. Miss Lorna didn't press. She nodded once, respectfully, and that was enough. After the event, they walked home through the quiet streets of Cambridge. Cairo's paper planets swung in a folded cardboard tube as he skipped ahead. Did you see Saturn's ring, Mama? I made it with a lid. I saw, baby. It was genius. He stopped and looked up at her. Is Daddy coming to see them? No, she said softly. Not this time. He looked disappointed, but only for a second. Then I'll just show you again, he beamed. Tiffany's chest swelled. She wasn't raising a boy to wonder who stayed. She was raising one who understood the value of who did. That weekend, Vera dropped by the apartment with a surprise. Open it, she said, sliding a black envelope across the table. Tiffany opened it slowly. Inside was an invitation. Global Voices, Women in Strategy or Keynote nominee, Tiffany Alara. She stared at it. You submitted my name? She whispered. Vera leaned back. You earned it. I'm not ready. You're past ready. The world needs to hear your mind, not your marriage. Tiffany looked down. The old version of herself, the one who waited outside a penthouse in the snow. She would have declined, said no, played small, but that woman was gone. I'll write the keynote, she said, but I want control of the message. You've got it. Back at home that night, after Cairo fell asleep, Tiffany took out her laptop and began to write. She didn't start with data. She didn't lead with strategy. She began with a sentence she hadn't said out loud yet. The woman you see on this stage was once asked to leave her home because she was inconvenient to someone else's ambition. She paused, deleted the last line, rewrote it, and she left with dignity, with her child, and with a decision. Never again would her name be forgotten inside her own story. The keynote would not be about heartbreak. It would be about rebirth. By mid-August, Alara Strategies had landed 3 new brands. Each one came from word of mouth. No ads, no LinkedIn promo. Tiffany's method was quiet excellence. She showed up, delivered, moved on. Clients loved her because she didn't overpromise. She just overperformed. But one of those new clients came with baggage. A luxury home goods startup backed by a private fund, partially owned by Greaves Equity Partners, Sterling's company. Tiffany found out during a legal review when her contractor flagged the silent partner. You still want the job? Vera asked, jaw tight. Tiffany didn't blink. Yes, you're sure? I'm not punishing Cairo's future to avoid my past. She signed the contract and onboarded the client the next day. If Sterling saw her name in the reports, so be it. Let him see what he once ignored. That night, after another client call, Tiffany found Cairo asleep in her bed, a toy flashlight still in his hand. She slid in beside him and whispered, "We're going to be okay." Then she smiled to herself. No, we already are. The next morning, a journalist emailed her. Subject, feature on quiet CEOs. Reshaping modern branding message, we're compiling stories of women changing the corporate game without traditional funding or loud marketing. You were referred by 3 people. Would love to talk. Tiffany reread the email twice. She wasn't anonymous anymore. She typed her reply carefully. Thank you for the invitation. I'm open to contributing as long as the focus remains on strategy, not personal history. The journalist responded within an hour. That's exactly why we want you. Later that week, Sterling opened his inbox. A newsletter from a media outlet he followed featured the headline, "The Quiet Power, Women Rebranding Power Structures Without Shouting." Subhead, Tiffany. Elara's firm is reshaping luxury brand strategy with poise, precision, and no apologies. There was a photo, her in a navy blue blazer, smiling, confident, Cairo's paper satin behind her on a bulletin board. Sterling stared at the screen. Celeste walked past holding an iPad. "Sterling? You listening?" He didn't respond. He just kept reading. For the first time in months, he realized the one person he thought would crumble had risen, without noise, without scandal, without him. It didn't start with a ribbon-cutting ceremony or champagne. There was no grand opening, no press release, no reception desk polished for optics. Elara Strategies was born in a 4th-floor walk-up with peeling walls, uneven Wi-Fi, and a 5-year-old scribbling stars on the back of pitch decks. But it was real, and it was hers. Tiffany registered the business legally on a Monday morning while waiting in line at a government building between a woman holding a toddler and a man arguing about parking fees. Her name, Tiffany Elara, had never looked stronger than when typed into those articles of incorporation. It wasn't a rebirth, it was a declaration. This is where I begin writing the story they tried to edit me out of. By September, she had officially moved into a shared office suite in Kendall Square with Vera. 2 rooms, 1 small conference table, and a whiteboard Cairo insisted on decorating every Friday with new drawings. The first thing Tiffany did was print their logo on a thick vinyl sticker and place it across the glass door. Elara Strategies, precision, purpose, power. Every time she opened that door, she whispered the same 4 words. They don't own me. The client list grew. Vera managed the overflow. BC handled all design. Tiffany oversaw campaigns, hired 2 part-time brand interns, and paid them better than she'd ever been paid at their age. By the time October came around, her firm had rebranded a women's health tech startup, revitalized a stagnant boutique fashion line, and launched a campaign that took a local eco-beauty brand national. Each client got 1 rule, no shortcuts, no lies. Tiffany didn't believe in shock marketing. She believed in clean wins. And the market noticed. Emails started coming in from people who once ignored her. Former colleagues, PR directors, even editors from lifestyle magazines. They weren't asking about Sterling, they were asking about her. She had become what people like Celeste couldn't understand, untouchable without being loud. One afternoon, while reviewing a campaign report, Vera knocked on her door. "You've got an interview request," she said, smirking. "I already told a journalist from Momentum Business." "No, not her. Someone bigger." Vera dropped a printed copy of the email in front of her. It was from Pinnacle Profile, a high-tier executive feature platform. They wanted a 2-page spread. The headline draft, "From Silent Wife to Strategic Powerhouse, The Rise of Tiffany Elara." Tiffany stared at the paper. "What's your gut say?" Vera asked. "My gut says, leave the past out of it, then tell your version, before someone else tries to sell theirs." She agreed to the interview on one condition: no references to her marriage, no gossip bait. Focus on business, values, motherhood, and strategy. The journalist, a sharp woman named Noelle, kept her word. They met in a cafe, and Tiffany kept her answers clear and clean. When Noelle asked about the challenges she faced starting alone, Tiffany didn't flinch. "I wasn't alone," she said. "I had my son. And my clarity." Noelle paused her recorder and asked, "Do you want to address the Sterling connection?" Tiffany sipped her tea. "No. I'm not part of that story anymore." When the article dropped, The response was immediate, not from the tabloids, not from Celeste's social media, but from women. Women who DM'd her with stories of losing everything and building back. Women who had been cheated on, left behind, silenced in meetings, ignored in strategy sessions. Women who had walked through storms and showed up the next day like nothing had happened. Tiffany read each message. She replied to everyone, not with motivational quotes or pity, but with the truth. You're not broken, you're building. Meanwhile, Sterling couldn't ignore her anymore. Her name came up in pitch meetings. Her firm competed for clients his company wanted. She spoke on the same panels as men he respected. And Celeste? Celeste noticed. Late one evening, as she scrolled on her tablet in their living room, she landed on the article from Pinnacle Profile. "Tiffany's trending," she said. Sterling didn't look up. "She looks different," Celeste added, scrolling further. "Strong." He set down his drink. "She always was." Celeste raised an eyebrow. "Didn't seem like it when she left." "She didn't leave," he said quietly. "We let her walk out." Celeste stared at him but said nothing. Not that night. But the tension stayed. Back at Alara HQ, Tiffany kept moving. She didn't celebrate wins publicly. She did something better. She made sure every woman on her team saw their paycheck reflect what they were worth. Every intern got mentored. Every mother got flexible hours. Every voice was heard. And every Friday, Cairo came after school, wearing his galaxy print hoodie, marching in with his backpack and announcing, "Is this where the boss works?" Tiffany would look up from her desk and smile. "Right here, baby." He'd draw her a new planet on the whiteboard, and she'd hang it on her wall like a crown. Because in this empire, the only throne that mattered was the one she built with integrity. Monday mornings had a different rhythm now. Tiffany no longer woke up wondering what her husband was hiding. She didn't check social media for photos of Sterling and Celeste. She didn't wonder if her absence from boardrooms meant anything to anyone anymore. She made Cairo's breakfast. She packed lunches with handwritten notes. She showed up in a black blazer and sneakers to the Alara Strategies office with a focused mind and a calendar booked with work she earned, not work handed to her through proximity. Her life was smaller in square footage, but bigger in impact. Every week, a new woman reached out, referred by a former client, someone from a seminar, or a reader from the Pinnacle feature. These weren't pity projects. They were powerful women with real businesses who wanted a strategy firm that didn't treat them like an afterthought. They wanted clarity, precision, quiet results that lasted longer than noise. They wanted what Tiffany built from scratch. And for the first time, Tiffany felt herself stepping fully into the identity that had been slowly growing in her shadow. Not a wife, not an ex, not even a survivor, but a builder. One of her new clients was an artist-turned-home decorator named Lena Reed. Lena had inherited a small design studio from her grandmother and was now trying to scale it into a lifestyle brand. She met Tiffany at a panel event and said, "I don't want a viral launch, I want a legacy." Tiffany had nodded. "Then we'll build the brand like it's a woman. Real, layered, unapologetic." Lena laughed. "You always talk like that." "Only when I mean it." The Alara campaign for Lena went live 2 weeks later. Natural textures, warmth-driven visuals, copy that felt like conversations. The response was overwhelming. Within 5 days, Lena's site sold out of its core collection. Within 2 weeks, Tiffany was invited to sit on the Visionaries Inn design panel alongside major creative directors from legacy firms. She accepted, not for the title, but for the women watching from the back rows. The ones building something real in silence. She wore a muted beige suit that day. No loud patterns, no designer labels. When asked how she created brand stories that moved markets, she said, "By listening to people no one else thinks to ask." Back home, Kiro was thriving. He had made 2 new friends in his class, Max and Ez, and they had created something called the Quiet Super Team. "It's for kids who don't shout to be heard," he explained over dinner one night. "We help the smaller kids, like superheroes but without capes." Tiffany blinked hard and smiled. "You're already better than most grown-ups," she said. I learned it from you." She wiped her eyes with a napkin and changed the subject before her heart could overflow in front of the mac and cheese. But not everything stayed quiet. In late October, she received an email flagged urgent. It was from a major venture client she'd pitched 2 months ago. They were ready to move forward, but a condition was attached. Their legal team had flagged a potential conflict. One of their senior board advisors was Sterling Greaves, and he had flagged her name. Vera stormed into the office that morning, waving the printed email like it was fire. "He's interfering," she snapped. "He knows your firm is better than his PR lapdogs. He's trying to keep you out of the room." Tiffany sat still. Her voice was calm. "Did they cancel the contract?" "No," Vera said. "They said they're willing to override him, but they wanted full transparency first." Tiffany took the email, scanned it, and replied herself. "I have no unresolved legal, financial, or proprietary ties to Mr. Greaves. If my former marriage is the issue, I can assure you it has no relevance to your brand or its needs. The only history that matters is the one I've built through results. Let me know how you'd like to proceed." She hit send. Vera stared at her. Tiffany leaned back in her chair and folded her hands. "Sterling taught me something," she said. "Silence doesn't mean surrender. It means I'm choosing my battlefields." They got the contract. Sterling didn't respond again. Meanwhile, Celeste had grown restless. She was used to being the center of attention, the woman who arrived late and left early, the one who people noticed. But lately, all the conversations around her seemed to end in, "Have you seen what Tiffany Alara's doing? Her branding firm is everywhere. She built it herself, you know." After everything, Celeste started watching Tiffany's interviews. She scoffed at her wardrobe, mocked her soft-spoken tone, and rolled her eyes when Sterling didn't. "You ever going to stop pretending she doesn't bother you?" Celeste snapped one evening. Sterling didn't look up from his tablet. "She doesn't bother me." "Then why haven't you posted anything about our anniversary? Why is her name still in your phone?" He didn't answer, because Tiffany hadn't bothered him. She had undone him, not by fighting, not by speaking out, but by walking away, building a world better than the one she left behind. And worse, for Sterling, by doing it without ever mentioning his name. The first week of November, Tiffany was invited to judge a national branding competition for women-led firms. She said yes immediately. The flight, the hotel, the honor, it all felt surreal. But the most powerful moment happened in the elevator of the hotel on the second night. A young woman, maybe 24, stepped in, holding a torn notebook and a laptop that had seen better years. She stared at Tiffany and said softly, "You're her." Tiffany smiled. "Depends who her is." The one who left with her son and built something no one saw coming. Tiffany's smile deepened. "That's one way to put it." The girl's eyes filled. "I'm trying too. I live with my aunt and her 5 kids. My boyfriend said I was wasting time learning design." Tiffany held the elevator door. "He's wrong." The girl hesitated. "How do you know?" Tiffany said gently, "Because no one walks through fire and comes out stronger just to be told to go back in." Then she let the door close behind her. She didn't need to say more. Her name, her company, was already speaking for her. By the time December snow touched the sidewalks again, Tiffany stood in front of her office window, holding a cup of hot lemon tea. Cairo sat in a corner drawing another galaxy, this time with 2 suns and a house made of stars. He looked up and said, "Mama, when people leave you in the cold, why don't you cry anymore?" She set the cup down. "Because sometimes the storm clears the way for something brighter." He smiled and went back to coloring. "And Tiffany?" She opened her laptop and added a final tab to her new client portal, Legacy Partners, invite-only tier. Because Elara Strategies wasn't just a company now, it was an institution. And her name was no longer something she defended. It was what others whispered when they needed someone who could rebuild what the world had tried to tear down. Celeste Marlin loved being seen. That was her currency. Applause, attention, and the ability to make heads turn when she walked into a room, even if what she said afterward held no weight. She didn't build. She collected designer gowns, high-profile photos. champagne-soaked charity appearances that looked like generosity but smelled like branding. She liked being called Mrs. Greaves more than she liked being Sterling's partner. And Sterling, lost in the haze of corporate events and silent regrets, let her run with the title. But as December approached, something shifted. People weren't whispering about her anymore. They were whispering about Tiffany. Did you hear Elara Strategies just landed Monroe and Fields? Wait, Tiffany Elara? She turned down a feature in Modern Women Monthly, said she was too busy scaling quietly. She's building an agency while raising her kid on her own. The woman's unstoppable. Celeste heard it all. She pretended not to care. But every compliment thrown Tiffany's way sounded to her like an insult in disguise. She kept up appearances, posted videos in designer robes, threw one high-end cocktail, party in the penthouse, posed by the Christmas tree that once belonged to Cairo. But the numbers weren't adding up. Brands were saying no. Events were excluding her. Her inbox wasn't full anymore. And worse, Sterling had grown quiet around her. He wasn't talking strategy or asking for opinions. He wasn't touching her arm when she passed or even noticing when she left a room early. Celeste was used to being envied. Now she was being outclassed, and the woman doing it wasn't trying to compete. Tiffany wasn't even in the room. She was winning from elsewhere. Meanwhile, in Kendall Square, the Elara office was bustling. Tiffany had just finished a call with a European interiors brand, her first international client, when Beezy knocked on her door. "You need to see this," Beezy said, holding her laptop. It was a LinkedIn post from one of Celeste's publicists. A photo of Celeste in front of a luxury branding seminar banner, one Tiffany had turned down because the terms were too shallow and too celebrity-focused. The caption, "Mrs. Greaves standing in for Tiffany Elara's cancelled appearance. We show up when others drop out." Busy turned the screen. "Want me to drag her on socials?" Tiffany didn't even blink. "No, we don't respond. She's baiting you. I know, and I'm too busy feeding my team to pick at scraps." Busy chuckled. "Your dignity is exhausting. But okay." Instead, Tiffany sent out a private newsletter to her client base and team. "We don't respond to noise. We outlast it. Stay focused. Strategy is louder than ego." The message landed harder than any rebuttal. Back at the penthouse, Celeste wasn't done. She had organized a holiday launch event for a skincare line she'd invested in, but things were falling apart. The venue she'd booked was double charging. The caterer backed out, and the influencer she flew in posted that the event was disorganized and cold. Sterling arrived late to the event, nodded stiffly to people he barely remembered, and left early. He didn't say a word about the failure, but Celeste knew what he was thinking, because she was thinking it too. Tiffany would have never let this happen. The next morning, Sterling sat in his office at Greaves Equity with a report in his hand. It detailed 5 recent deals his company had lost, 3 of which had gone to competitors that had Tiffany's firm handling their brand revamp. He leaned back in his chair. The last time he'd seen her was nearly a year ago, Christmas. She had opened the door of a friend's cabin, stepped outside with snow in her hair, and spoken to him like a woman who had already made peace with never needing him again. He remembered every word. "You watched your mistress humiliate me in front of our child, and said nothing. You don't get to rewrite that scene. Back then, it sounded like pain. Now, it sounded like prophecy." She hadn't needed to scream to make her point. She'd lived it. And now, he was watching her build something he couldn't buy, couldn't discredit, and couldn't copy. Power that moved without press, influence without noise, and the worst part, everyone respected her more than they feared him. At Elara, Tiffany finished reviewing her first quarter projections. They'd hit every target. No loans, no backers, just clean work and consistent delivery. She looked at her small team, busy on creative, Nari on strategy, 2 new interns answering calls with poise beyond their years. Each one of them knew her story, but not because she told it, because they'd seen the headlines and watched how she never needed them to explain her success. And when she stepped into the conference room to lead their weekly meeting, she didn't posture or preach. She spoke like she always had, straight, honest, confident. We don't chase trends, we set standards. And we don't throw stones. We build the next floor. Then she nodded to Cairo, who sat at the back doing homework with headphones on. And we raise the future to know the difference between noise and value. Back at the penthouse, Celeste scrolled through the press Tiffany kept ignoring. One outlet had listed her among 25 women shaping the future of quiet influence. Another called her the branding mind behind 3 of this year's biggest product revivals. But it was a quote from a female CEO that made Celeste freeze. She doesn't lead like a man. She leads like a woman who knows what it feels like to be erased and refuses to let it happen to anyone else. Celeste closed the article, then picked up her phone. She dialed Sterling. "We need to talk," she said. He paused. "About what?" "About your ex-wife. And what happens when the woman you threw out becomes the one writing your next chapter." Celeste met Sterling in the penthouse lounge later that evening. The lights were dimmed low, the view of the city glittered past the glass, and the silence between them stretched too long. Sterling nursed a drink. Celeste, dressed in red silk and resentment, leaned against the window with her arms folded. "She's hurting your brand," she said. Sterling looked up, slowly. "No, she's not. You lost the Ashburn contract. Then Monroe. Then Ventura Partners. Want to guess who's behind their branding?" He didn't answer. She stepped closer. "You think the investors haven't noticed? Your name used to mean progress. Now it means regret. Celeste, she's not even trying to ruin you, and she still is." Sterling sat back, eyes fixed on the skyline. "That's the difference. She doesn't need to ruin anyone. She just exists better now." Celeste's lip curled. "So what? You want her back?" He looked her dead in the eye. "No, she's not mine to want." Celeste's face stiffened. The room shrank around them, not because he yelled, but because he didn't. Silence from Sterling meant one thing: finality. She left without slamming the door. Across town, Tiffany sat at a small, intimate dinner hosted by a philanthropic foundation spotlighting female entrepreneurs. The woman beside her, a venture capitalist with sharp glasses and a velvet voice, turned mid-conversation and said, "You're not like the others." Tiffany took a sip of her water. "Is that a compliment?" "It's observation. They enter the room with noise. You enter with gravity." Tiffany smiled. "Noise fades, and gravity pulls." The table laughed politely. Later that night, the foundation director walked her to the lobby and whispered, "We're considering you for our annual spotlight grant. No strings, just scale. Would you be open to it?" Tiffany didn't flinch. "Yes, but I don't accept money to fill gaps, only to expand value." "Then we'll follow up." Outside, the snow had returned, not as a storm, not bitter or biting, just soft, silent flakes that melted as they touched her skin. Tiffany zipped up her coat and walked with intention. She wasn't afraid of snow anymore. It reminded her of what she survived. Back at Elara Strategies the next morning, Beezy was waiting with coffee and a grin. "You're going to want to see this." She handed over a tablet. On the screen, an email from Ashburn and KO, a long-standing PR and investor group with massive reach. Subject, proposal, exclusive brand partnership discussion. Tiffany skimmed. They were offering her firm a top-tier retainer to oversee their upcoming legacy rebrand, a role that had traditionally been reserved for men twice her age with 3 times less edge. "They want you to pitch in person," Beezy said. "And guess where the meeting is?" Tiffany raised a brow. Greaves Equity, their main conference hall. Sterling's turf. There was no hesitation. "Book it." On the morning of the pitch, Tiffany dressed simply. Soft cream blouse, black slacks, low heels. No jewelry except the silver chain around her neck, her wedding ring still looped through it. Not for drama, for memory. Kiro watched her from the doorway, holding his waffle like a trophy. "You look like a queen," he said. She bent down and kissed his forehead. That's because I'm doing something royal. He grinned. Will they clap for you? They won't have to. Greaves' Equity looked exactly like she remembered. Glossy floors, cold air, clean, faceless corridors designed to impress but never comfort. Sterling's assistant didn't recognize her at first, but when he looked down at the sign-in and saw her name, his expression shifted. Miss Ilara, he said softly. You're in the Monroe room. Tiffany walked past with grace. She knew exactly where it was. Sterling wasn't in the room when she entered. Good. She wasn't here for a scene. She was here to lead. Ashburn's team arrived promptly. 3 men, 1 woman, all curious but cautious. They had heard things. They had expectations. They were professionals. Tiffany greeted them calmly, connected her laptop, and began. She didn't pitch with flair. She pitched with facts, market positioning, conversion rates, brand trust retention, psychological impact of consistency over virality. She used real numbers, real voice, and real language. Halfway through, one of the execs leaned in and said, "You do this differently." "I do this the way customers actually think," she replied. They nodded. By the time she clicked to the final slide, built to last, designed to lead, the room was still. Then the woman from their team said, "We've seen a lot of noise this year. Yours was the first presentation that felt like direction." That was all Tiffany needed to hear. She packed up slowly, gracefully, left behind silence and certainty. She passed Sterling in the hallway on her way out. He didn't expect to see her. For a second, his face twitched. He opened his mouth. She held up a hand. "Don't." He stopped. She stepped closer, steady and unreadable. "You know what this building used to mean to me?" Sterling said nothing. It meant access, approval, status. I wanted so badly to be let in. Her eyes never blinked. "But now I realize I never needed your seat at the table. I built my own. And people ask for that one." He swallowed. "I see what you've done," he said quietly. She nodded. "I know." He hesitated. "Do you hate me?" "No. I outgrew needing to." Then she walked past him, and this time, he was the one left standing in the hallway, holding nothing but his silence. Back at Ilara HQ, BC, Vera and the team were waiting with coffee and open screens. "Well?" Vera asked. Tiffany smiled. "They'll sign by Monday." Cheers erupted. Cairo, who had come to hang out after school, jumped up and clapped too. "Did they clap for you?" "Even better," she said, lifting him into her arms. They listened. That night, Tiffany sat on her couch with a cup of herbal tea, her feet tucked under her, her laptop on the armrest beside her. She had just updated the website. Under her photo now read, "Founder, brand architect, quiet builder. Not here for flash, here for legacy." She looked out the window. The snow was falling again, but this time, she was inside, warm, centered, whole. No one had thrown her out. She'd simply chosen to leave, and where she landed was better than anything they could have offered. It began with a whisper, a quote here, a tweet there, a quiet mention in a businesswoman's panel recap. Then came the article, not in a gossip tabloid or a Who Wore It Best column, but in Elevate Quarterly, a respected journal that focused on leadership, innovation, and the ethics of influence. The Silent Storm, how Tiffany Ilara redefined reputation. Without saying a word, the piece didn't mention Sterling. Not even once. But it didn't have to. The world had started connecting the dots, and they liked Tiffany better for never connecting them herself. The journalist wrote, "In a space where noise often replaces value, Ilara's strategy stands as a quiet force. Tiffany Ilara doesn't chase headlines. She rewrites the rules behind them." Vera forwarded the article with no subject line, just a link and a single line of text. "It's happening." Tiffany sat alone at her dining table, the early morning light soft against the wooden surface. Cairo was still asleep, and the house was silent except for the hum of the radiator. She read the article 3 times, not for vanity, not to celebrate, She was checking for lies. There were none. Her words had been paraphrased with care. The tone was measured, not dramatic. The framing was professional, not emotional. And most importantly, the story didn't lean on her pain. It leaned on her work. By noon, 5 emails sat in her inbox. 2 were from podcast producers, 1 from a media strategist asking to feature her in a Power Under 40 list. 1 was from a publishing house, and the 5th was from someone she didn't expect. Subject: catch up over coffee? Sender: Meryl Greaves, Sterling's mother. Tiffany didn't open it. She read the preview line: "I've been watching from afar, and I was wrong," and let it sit there, untouched. She wasn't angry. She was just no longer available for reconciliation rooted in guilt. Some bridges didn't need to be burned, they just needed to be left alone. That evening, she picked Cairo up from school, and as they walked, he asked a question that made her stop. "Why don't people ever clap for daddies on the internet?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "My teacher showed a video of someone talking about you. Everyone was smiling. But daddy used to get awards too, right?" Tiffany crouched beside him, holding his hands. "Daddy got recognition. Yes, for different things, important things too. But the kind of work I do now isn't about trophies." Cairo tilted his head. "What is it about then?" She smiled. "It's about making sure people feel seen when no one's clapping. Like you used to feel." She hesitated, then nodded. "Exactly." Back at Ilara, Vera set a meeting with the team to discuss the wave of attention. "Do we want to scale the public side of this?" she asked. "More visibility means more eyes. More eyes means more speculation. More speculation means Sterling's name might sneak in." Tiffany shook her head. "We stay the course. No interviews that focus on my past. No reactive press. We control the message. We don't feed the distraction." Busy leaned forward. "But don't you ever want to say it out loud, just once, that he left you, that she threw you out, that you slept in a motel with your kid while they drank wine under your Christmas lights?" Tiffany smiled gently. "No, because my son won't remember that night for what it took. He'll remember it for what it gave us." Silence fell over the room. Vera scribbled something into her notes. BC exhaled deeply. "You're terrifying." In the best way. The following week, Elevate Quarterly's article made it to the top of LinkedIn's trending list for female founders. Tiffany's inbox ballooned, not just with press inquiries, but with women, real women. A nurse who had walked away from a toxic hospital department to open a home clinic. A single mother in Seattle who turned her sketches into a children's book after a painful divorce. A retired military officer who started a non-profit for trauma recovery after surviving a smear campaign. They weren't asking for help. They were thanking her for being quiet proof that survival doesn't need a megaphone. Tiffany read every single message. She created a folder in her inbox called The Silent Army, and she replied to each woman the same way. "Your dignity speaks for itself. Keep building." Meanwhile, Sterling watched from the margins. His own firm, though still profitable, was under pressure. Several new partners wanted a more modern image, and whispers about Ilara's quiet dominance had made it into 2 board meetings. He attended the last one in silence. He didn't argue. What could he say? His past mistake now stood taller than his present reputation. At home, Celeste tried to pivot. New influencers, bigger dresses, louder events. But it wasn't working. The people paying attention were no longer interested in loud. They were looking for substance. And substance didn't wear diamonds and call it credibility. Substance rebuilt from nothing and turned silence into strategy. One evening, as Sterling sat in the kitchen alone, he opened a video link someone had sent anonymously. It was Tiffany, standing on a small stage at a community event in Dorchester. She wasn't being filmed professionally. No lights, no production, just her, speaking into a mic at a local girls' mentorship program. She said, "You don't need the room to recognize you. You need to know who you are when the room doesn't." They threw me into a snowstorm. I walked out of it warmer than I'd ever been. Because the best kind of revenge is not needing one. Sterling closed the laptop slowly, and for the first time since that night, he let himself cry, not from guilt, from the knowledge that no amount of money, clout, or boardroom power could buy what he gave up. At Ilara, Tiffany never mentioned the article again. She simply kept going. Her vengeance wasn't the media. Her vengeance was her peace. Ilara's strategies didn't celebrate its milestones with noise. There were no glittery parties, no photo booths, no overproduced brand videos. When Tiffany reached her first $1 million in contracted revenue, she marked it by sending handwritten thank you cards to her first 5 clients. She wasn't building a brand to trend. She was building something to stay. In the weeks following the Elevate article, opportunities poured in, but she stayed selective. 2 international clients were onboarded quietly. A joint webinar series was approved with a respected design firm in Milan. She declined 2 morning show interviews and 1 reality feature-style docuseries proposal with a polite line, "Thank you, but my story isn't entertainment, it's direction." Vera couldn't help herself. One Friday morning, she slid into Tiffany's office and dropped a manila folder onto the desk. "I know you hate this, but it's time." Tiffany glanced up, amused. "Time for what?" "Your speaking tour." Tiffany raised an eyebrow. Vera leaned on the desk. "I'm serious. This isn't about the media. This is about the women emailing us." The girls watching quietly. "You don't have to preach. Just show up. Let them see what it looks like to rebuild without bitterness." Tiffany looked down at the mock itinerary. It was clean. 10 cities, private venues, industry audiences, focused panels on strategy, resilience, and sustainable influence. One of the cities, Chicago, Sterling's hometown. Another, Atlanta, where Celeste had recently opened a small consultancy mimicking Tiffany's blueprint. With glamour, not grit. "I'm not interested in starting anything," Tiffany said. "You won't be starting," Vera replied. "You'll just be showing up. That's enough." Later that night, Tiffany sat on her living room couch, blanket over her knees. Cairo asleep in his room, and the mock tour plan open beside her tea. She thought about every step. The snowstorm, the motel, the text to Vera, the first pitch, the missed meals, the guilt, the grind, the refusal to let someone else's silence define her name. And now, here was a chance to show other women how not to shatter, not for applause, but for alignment. She picked up her phone and texted Vera, "Let's do it, but no posters, no spotlights, only strategy. Call it the quiet table." The tour launched mid-November, 10 cities, 10 keynotes, 10 closed-room sessions where women sat in chairs, notebooks open, tears barely, held back, and listened to a woman who refused to turn pain into performance. Tiffany opened every event the same way. "I won't tell you how to leave him, or them, or that job. I'll show you what I did after the door closed behind me." And she ended every session with, "If no one left you a seat at the table, don't ask them to scoot over, build your own. Set it, guard it, and don't let crumbs feel like kindness." She didn't name names, but the people who needed to hear it did. Back in Boston, Ilara ran smoother than ever. BC managed creative. Vera handled press. The interns rotated through roles with mentorship woven into their workload. Cairo had become the unofficial office greeter, sitting at the front desk with a sketchbook and a rotating Planet of the Week feature. The women of Ilara didn't feel like employees. They felt like witnesses to something intentional. Tiffany wasn't obsessed with scale. She was obsessed with meaning. Meanwhile, in Atlanta, Celeste paced inside her glass office, scrolling through photos from Tiffany's tour. The women, the rooms, the quotes floating across social media with black and white portraits of Tiffany in clean-cut blazers. Celeste had tried everything. Workshops with makeup artists, branded notebooks, flashy billboards. But her events weren't sticking. People showed up for the wine, not the wisdom. Her brand had no weight. Because while Tiffany had bled for her message, Celeste had borrowed one. And people could tell. 1 week before Christmas, Tiffany's final tour stop landed in New York. It was her biggest yet. Over 150 invited women in publishing, law, consulting, and finance. She stood on stage, hands folded gently in front of her. No mic, no teleprompter, just her story, told without bitterness. She ended her talk with a line she hadn't rehearsed. It came from her gut. They thought the snow would swallow me, but I learned to walk inside the cold, and I've never stopped walking since. The room stood in silence for a beat. Then applause filled the air, not loud, but long, solid, grounded. She didn't smile for photos that night. She smiled when she saw two women exchange business cards and hug in the corner, saying, "I thought I was the only one." That was the win. The next morning, Tiffany and Cairo sat in a cafe near their apartment. Snow was beginning to fall again. This time, it felt different. "Mama," Cairo said, stirring whipped cream into his cocoa, "can we put the tree up soon?" "Tomorrow," she smiled. "You can help with the lights." He looked thoughtful. "Do you think Daddy will see it from wherever he is?" Tiffany paused. "Maybe," she said, "but the light isn't for him." "Who's it for?" She looked at him, brushed his curls back and said, "It's for us, so we never forget where we are now." Back at Elara HQ, Vera gathered the team for one last update before the holiday break. She tapped her phone and cast the screen onto the conference room display. "Press kit for next quarter," she said. At the top was the new tagline Tiffany had quietly approved. Elara strategies built in silence, known without noise. Then Vera turned to Tiffany. "You ready for next year?" Tiffany nodded. "Yes, but not because it's new." "Then why?" She looked around the room, at the women who had stayed, at the legacy forming itself brick by brick. "Because I've already survived the storm, now I get to plant what it cleared." That night, Tiffany lit a single candle near her window. Not for drama, not for nostalgia, but to honor the version of herself that had once stood coatless, child in arms, heart cracked open, watching a Bentley pull away. She whispered 3 words to the glass, "We're still here," and then turned away with peace. Have you ever walked away from something, only to realize later it was the beginning of everything you needed? If this chapter reminded you that silence can still speak volumes, let us know in the comments. And if you believe that the best kind of revenge is a peaceful, purpose-driven life, like, share, and subscribe to Mr. Charles' Stories for more powerful stories that honor quiet strength. The apartment was calm the morning Cairo asked the question. Tiffany had just finished pouring oat milk into his cereal when he looked up and asked, "Mama, are you still married to Daddy?" Her hand paused over the bowl. She set the carton down slowly, then sat beside him. "No, baby. We aren't married anymore." Cairo crunched quietly for a moment. "But you still have his name." "I kept my name," she said, "just like I kept my voice, even when it got quiet for a while." He frowned. "Is that why you don't talk about him?" Tiffany exhaled slowly. She had prepared for this, just not over cereal. "I talk about what builds us, not what broke us." Cairo blinked. "So, Daddy broke us?" "No," she said gently, "but he stopped protecting what we had, and I had to protect you, and myself." He nodded slowly, soaking in words far bigger than 5-year-old hearts were made for. "But still," he asked, "does he still love me?" Tiffany reached for his hand. "Yes, but love only matters when it shows up, and it hasn't." Cairo didn't cry. He simply whispered, "Okay." Then, after a beat, he added, "But I'm glad you stayed." She kissed his hand and tucked the moment deep into her heart. Not because it hurt, but because he understood her choice better than most adults ever had. Later that day, Tiffany visited a local community center where she'd agreed to lead a session on personal branding for first-time founders, mostly mothers, immigrants, and formerly incarcerated women rebuilding their lives. She didn't come with slides. She came with a notebook and a simple message. You are not behind, you are beginning. There's a difference. One woman, eyes brimming with quiet grief, raised her hand and asked, "What do you tell your child when their father disappears?" Tiffany didn't hesitate. "I tell him truth wrapped in kindness, and then I remind him He is still whole.